All right, we are live with the Bruce now Gerenser after party.
A Gerenser, yeah, that's fine.
Gerenser, yes.
Okay, Bruce is fine.
Okay, Bruce is fine. Okay, so we also have with us, of course, Pikachu the Gay Atheist is with us, and also Inquisitive Quandary, my moderator extraordinaire, who has given me some more links to put in the description of the interview. So I'll add that stuff afterwards, for sure.
Indeed.
Okay, so as you said, she'll jump in, but in a few minutes. So I'll let her know that the link has been sent. All right, there we go. All right, so if you guys have any questions you want to ask Bruce, now's your time to do so.
I do.
All right.
Obviously, right now there's some drama going on. I think Neil probably knows. We discovered a church that is spreading around some stuff about the coronavirus, and that is Independent Fundamentalist Baptist. There were former NIFB. Of course, you know the NIFB is related to Steven Anderson.
Yep.
And et cetera, and all that sort of shit. And we had a whole tobacco with them, you know, about a year or two ago. And
year.
There's a whole bunch of shit that's going on with them. Basically, what they're saying is that the coronavirus is God's judgment on the world for atheism and for homosexuality and for other stuff like like black people or African American people existing and other minority groups existing. Excuse me for saying anything bad, but basically they're saying that the coronavirus is God's judgment on the world. And they're spreading a whole hell of a lot of hate right now. And right now we're trying to go around and get these people, really get these people taken down and do some stuff, with these people. And I had DM'd Neil the Twitter link. I DM'd him a Twitter link with a video of them basically espousing some of this crap, and I had also DM'd Naradia some of this stuff. I DM'd Shannon Q. I DM'd basically everybody this, and earlier today I also DM'd him at Meta this, and within 10 seconds, probably if not 10 seconds, he basically DM'd me back and said that they're looking into this. They're going to talk to I think they might be talking to the FFRF, and they maybe even talking to the ACA about this. So who knows? Tomorrow they may go on and start talking about this on Talk Even and on on Atheist Experience about it. So who knows? So we know how our week is going to be next week. So
well, they're also advocating for everyone to get involved. Welcome, Randolph. To get involved with still going to church when they really should be, closing all this stuff down.
Yep.
Because
they can claim whatever the hell they want about about causation, but group gatherings, it really pisses me off right now.
Yeah.
I also had sent the Twitter post that I had posted on Twitter to Neil and tell you guys. I also sent that to Jimmy Snow's Reddit page and posted it on Jimmy Snow's Reddit page, so that way Jimmy Snow can respond to it if he does a video on it. And,
he will. He's already going to, by the way.
Yep.
So with those churches today, I went downtown and we saw with the family. We saw a church sign on one church. It says, "Thank you to all the medical professionals," and it says church services only available online. So at least some churches are getting it right, which we got to give them credit where it's due, I think. And it would be good if other churches took that lead and took it seriously.
Yeah.
Some of the evangelical churches in this area are holding only online services, and the largest church in the area is, they're shut down and just doing, via video and online streaming. I've written a couple articles in the last week, one about the Newark Baptist Temple in Heath, Ohio, for example. It's an independent Baptist church, and my in-laws attend that church. So I have a vested interest in their well-being, and their pastor is bound and determined to have services. And just today I wrote another article about a local independent Baptist church here that I attended when I was a child, that they canceled their Sunday school and they canceled their midweek service. But, bless God, they're going to have church Sunday morning and Sunday night, as if, nothing's going on in the world, because, God's bigger than the coronavirus.
Yes, of course.
And so we're just going to pray really, 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 really hard. And we're going to be okay, but they're not going to be okay. And that's the sad reality of that. And that's why, as I shared with Neil, I thought that the governor, my only fault with Governor DeWine here in Ohio is that he should have made churches part of his order to shut down. But for whatever reason, he didn't. And there is a small segment of churches, primarily, sadly, Baptist or far-right fundamentalist churches, like the first gentleman that talked about the Stephen Anderson, for example. Those type of churches, they're anti-government to start with, and so they're going to see this as a plot to take away civil liberties and to control people. And it's the atheists and the socialists and the humanists and the anti-God crowd that's behind all of this. And
well, who else is going to do it?
Well, that's exactly right.
Yesterday,
aren't there some issues though with that, with separation of church and state? Now, yes, that affects everybody because of social distancing, and we want to keep people from gathering in crowds. But just from an argumentative standpoint of separation of church and state, and can the state directly order churches to shut down?
They can order based on criteria like how many people are meeting at that place and whether or not that's actually an essential service.
Right.
So, I'm just going to read quickly what Pastor Greg Locke wrote yesterday.
Oh yeah, Greg. Yeah, there's a winner.
And he said, yeah. And he says like his, he got something shut down on, he got some notice that he's shown. Your post goes against our community standards on coordinating harm and promoting crime. No one else can see your post. We have the standards to prevent and disrupt offline harm. And his response to that on Twitter was, I'm beyond fired up at this point. Y'all need to wake up. Facebook removed my service announcement post and said, keep the church open was promoting a crime. We're not closing. Well, they're saying it's a crime or it's causing offline harm. So I wrote back to him, please reconsider your position. With the ongoing coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, public health experts are recommending against people gathering in large groups in an effort to prevent further spread of this highly contagious and potentially lethal virus. Thanks. I haven't seen a response from him yet, but
he's not going to, dude.
Might help.
Yeah. The church and state issue is there's some valid argument. There's some, but if you study enough American history, you know that there have been times that due to whether it was war, whether it was the Spanish flu, there have been times throughout our history where we have for short times, we have suspended
the Constitution.
Certain civil liberties. And none of us are comfortable with that. But we also realize that, look, you meeting together as a church, you could kill my neighbors, and you could kill me, and you could kill my children. And so if that means you get upset for a time over that, then I'm okay with that.
You'll get over it.
I'm not okay with that. A year from now, and we're still, keeping churches from meeting or whatnot, because people ought to be able to gather together and worship as they want and how they want, and just as we as atheists are free to, not believe. And but it's a fine line, and I understand that, but I also know that the Republican Party here in the United States is closely aligned with evangelical Christianity right now.
Always has been.
And they're acutely aware of what, how certain decisions will be perceived. And so, I want to give Governor Wine, I'll give him about a 95%. I just wish he would have went that other 5%. And most churches, at least in our area, I don't know how it is in your area, most churches in our area they're doing the right thing. And
now, is there any credence to them jumping to the conclusion that it's targeting just churches? Because my understanding is it's a health recommendation, public health recommendation for keeping large groups from forming. It doesn't matter church or not.
Well, right, and that's the schools here are closed. There's no sporting events going on.
Faithless Forum is postponed.
There are countless groups that are not meeting, and even at the employment level. For example, last week in Ohio, there were roughly, in the 4 days of the week, there were almost 5,000 new unemployment applications. Well, this week in 4 days, there were 138,000 applications. And so factories are shutting down, employers are shutting down. My daughter works at a business nearby that, they've basically laid off their whole staff except for a couple people. And so there's a lot of people doing the right thing, and no one's targeting churches. And I would be the first person in line to stand up against that if that was what was going on.
Shoot, they're even talking about SSA subsidies for coronavirus relief now, of up to like $1,000.
Sure.
And some people were saying they wanted it to be up to $2,000.
Well, you got to understand that Steven Anderson represents about as far right as you can get in the evangelical tent. He is a bigot. He's a hater, but he attracts. Unfortunately, he attracts way more people than you think he should, and so he's going to view this. Of course, this is God's judgment. God's trying to let us know that it's always the same issues, isn't it, guys and gals? Sorry, it's
they said the same thing about AIDS, Ebola, any outbreak, any disease, any pestilence. It's always God's wrath.
Yes, an abortion, same-sex marriage, if you're don't have the same political views that the list is endless, and but yet when they all come down with the COVID-19 virus, then what? Is that
they're going to have an excuse for that too?
Yes,
it's going to be they were not praying hard enough, or the people who did get it, they're trying to gather God in. They're trying to show somebody Jesus's love.
Yeah.
By that person getting sick, they're trying to bring somebody to God.
Yes.
See, as much as I don't necessarily like the Catholic Church too much, I like what they're doing in some areas, because there's some areas where the Catholic Church is basically saying, well, they're posting live streams of the Catholic Mass online because they won't let people in the church.
Right.
And there's some Catholic dioceses that are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, it would make sense for them to give in and do
Yeah.
what is being asked of them, because if the government has to tell the church to close their doors, then the church would have to admit there is actual separation of church and state in order to fight it.
Right.
And they've been denying that there's any. That doesn't mean that, forever and ever and ever. So I think they're in a pretty tight spot here too.
Well,
the only law that's out there really the only legal issue is that the government cannot promote any religion over another.
right.
And that's the only really law that's in the books about separation in church and state. The phrase church and state just has to do with Thomas Jefferson's letter. And we've all been through this, 1,000 times, but we're trying to promote the separation of church and state based on one religion doesn't want any other religion promoted over theirs either, but they want theirs in the government.
Right.
Well, they don't believe in separation of church and state. They just believe that their religion should have superior.
Well, that's where the power is.
That's right.
Yeah.
But how
And
do
I bet
you
none of
really
them have given
force
the thought.
the churches to shut down? Legally, how do you force the churches to shut down? You can make a public service suggestion, a public health suggestion that nobody gathers in groups, but you would have to make a broad statement that it is absolutely forbidden for any,
And you would
any
have to
group
arrest
larger
them
than
if they
10
do
people.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'd
Or
have
at
to
least levy
enforce it.
fines or something.
Yeah, and that would be the problem of actually going into a church and arresting a preacher for holding church. It harkens back to some of the things in the 1960s and whatever. Where they some of the racial unrest and some of the arrests that were made, and that can get ugly very quickly. But you also don't want people making others sick, and that's the dilemma. And and I'm glad I don't have to be the one that finally makes those decisions at a government level of what exactly to do.
There is the similar stuff comes up with the vaccine / anti-vax conundrum there, where the anti-vaxxers are saying that they shouldn't be forced to have vaccines.
Right.
And, as long as the vast majority of people, or more than 95%, are covered by a vaccine, then it makes it very hard for things like measles to spread, the herd immunity stuff. But there seems to be resistance against it still is ongoing. It's a real shame.
We were talking about that today, where we in the 1960s, in some echo there somewhere.
Someone's echoing.
Pikachu.
No, I'm not.
In the 1960s, when I was in kindergarten and first grade, we lived in San Diego at the time, and when it came to polio and measles, I don't remember them asking us whether or not we wanted to take the vaccines. They lined us up at school. I remember the long lines at school, and they said, next. And that's, now maybe there was some permission somewhere along the line from my parents that I'm not aware of, but it was treated rightly as a public health crisis that needed to be addressed. And that's kind of where we are right now. And whatever you think about God and whether it's God's judgment or that or not, to me, like someone else said, is really immaterial. The issue is that we know that if people meet in groups together, there's a greater possibility of this virus being spread, and for a certain percentage of the population, it could kill them.
Yeah.
And I happen to be in that group of poor health, 60, almost 63 years old. I don't want people anywhere near me. I just stay away. And
what pisses me off, especially with this church that I was talking about, is that you go look at their video on the coronavirus on YouTube, and the first thing you see on there, no matter what country it's from, you see like either the CDC's information stuff on the coronavirus, or if your VPN is based out of Canada, you see the Canada's national whatever you guys call it, health department or whatever, information stuff posted
Health
on
Canada.
there, talking about information for the information for the coronavirus. And it's like, wow, they got the CDC underneath this fucking piece of shit video talking about, information for this sort of crap. And this crap ass video is up there saying about the coronavirus is because of homosexuality or because of atheism. Come the fuck on, dude.
What are you gonna say, Angie?
Nobody here thinks that.
No.
Nobody here thinks that. That's
No.
for sure.
Yeah.
I've noticed that there's more racism coming out too, and they're using derogatory term for Chinese people. And I've confronted a few online in the last few days, and it amazes me that these people they try to defend themselves, or other people come to their defense, not saying it's wrong to be racist, but rather saying that it's true and whatever. They're kind of missing the point,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's and then they're blaming China for it all. There's people who are saying China should be paying the world's health bill for all this stuff, and I saw one point coming out saying, well, shouldn't the Spanish flu be called the Kansas virus or something like that? It came out of the U.S.
Kentucky.
somewhere.
It's Kentucky.
Kentucky virus.
Well, there were
Thank
three
you.
spots that they figured it could have come. One of them was China again, and also Kentucky, and somewhere in Europe, I think, was another one.
Well, yeah, and
Not Spain.
and with the Spanish flu, one of the prime movers of that was soldiers going back and forth,
Yeah.
and that's what led to millions of infections and deaths in this country as a result. So
Yeah.
we have our own culpability, believe me. We wanted to start naming stuff American or whatnot. We'd have lots of things named after us right now.
Yeah, well, I give credit to China for communicating information and cooperating with the World Health Organization.
Once they figured out what it was, a lot of people are saying that they were trying to hide it, which isn't necessarily the case. They want to get an idea of more of what it was before they released any information.
I don't buy it. I don't think China's trying to hide it. They're responsible for a very large population.
If you want to talk about a country that might be trying to hide, if you want to talk about, sorry about Neil. If you want to talk about a country that may be trying to hide the coronavirus, talk about North Korea.
Or Iran. Iran's doing that too, apparently.
Right.
Because North Korea, the fucking markets in North Korea, holy shit. Holy shit.
North Korea's a bit of a wild card.
They are worse than the Wuhan markets, dude.
Wow. Get back onto a different topic. I think.
I think we
talked about.
I'm ready to go wash my hands after this discussion.
Yeah. And yes, I'm aware of this, but he was told that because they weren't 100% in the knowledge of how bad this thing was going to get. So they just want to keep it under wraps. And once they figured it out that this thing was worse than they first thought, then that's when everything started coming out. So,
yeah.
But
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I can't blame them for being quiet about it at first. But once they realized what it was and how bad it was going to be, it's like, okay, now we got to do something about this. So,
yes.
Anyway, you're going to say, Angie, go ahead.
The wash your hands, don't touch your face, avoid large crowds, all that stuff, all those instructions we're being given now, they give you every year during cold and flu season. You hear it all over the news, and now it's like mom has told you 3 times to brush your teeth nicely, and now I'm going to yell, "Go brush your damn teeth! Wash your damn hands! Stay the fuck home!" Yes. So that's how I'm seeing it. It's like mom's had enough and said, "Damn it, you're going to listen this time. This is new, and I ain't playing around."
North Korea's owner on a rainbow fire breathing unicorn.
Uh,
They tell us. They tell
I
us
want
during.
one.
They tell us during hurricane season. Before hurricane season starts, they say you need to pack your dry good foods. You need to
Mhm.
pack your canned foods. You need to get your toiletries. You need to
It's
get
all
your
just
this. You need to get your
common
ammo for your
sense.
guns and stuff like that. You need to get all your stuff that you need to have to evacuate with for a hurricane. You need to be prepared to leave town for a hurricane and shit before all that stuff happens at the beginning of hurricane season. So if a hurricane does happen, you're not fucking rushing to Walmart and fucking rushing the Academy Sports and Outdoors and trying to buy everything out the fucking store when there ain't nothing there. You know what I'm saying? So
there's a lot of
Of course,
chatter.
our knowledge of sanitation and microbiology has
Yeah.
came a long way in the past 102 years. But
Yes.
back during the influenza outbreak in 1918, what was that? The two cities. One I think was St. Louis, and the other I believe was Boston. Don't quote me on that, but they didn't heed the warnings, like in Boston, and they went ahead and had their St. Patty's Day parade against the recommendations that people should not be in a large crowd. And then another city that took the warnings, closed churches, closed schools, did everything that we're pretty much doing now. And 1 week later, what happened? The place that had the closings experienced 1,000, 2,000 deaths. There were 6 figures of dead people 7 days later in the city that had the parade.
Sure.
Wow. That's crazy.
We knew about this. We were taking measures like this 100 years ago. And we figured out we have examples like that don't gather in large fucking crowds. And that was way deadlier than what we're dealing with right now. Not to mention we've had improvements in healthcare, and this is this is treatable. There's a lot of people that are dying, or it's just that they just simply don't have the healthcare. We don't have enough ventilators. We don't have enough, doctors and just everything that you need to get somebody through this. We just run out of them because it just spikes up because people are fucking going to church.
We just came up with and put together 11 million of them here in Canada. So
Yeah, we're still having our challenges though, but we have done
of
that.
course.
And then you look at China building hospitals in 14 days or whatever it was that have hundreds of beds in them. It's just phenomenal response.
Yeah,
They've
said in the chat here too.
Yeah,
Also, no, we're not saying trust the Chinese government because I mean they've already been found out that they've been sending apparently some. I looked into this.
I would say, as a skeptic, it's good not to trust any government or any authority for that matter.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it was found out that China has been sending spies here in the guise of being students at universities. I saw somebody post that, and I was quite skeptical, so I did a little reading this afternoon on that, and it turns out it's actually true.
A lot of
Sure, we
governments
have
are doing
some over
that.
there,
It's not
too.
unique to China.
It's not unique to China. No, you're right.
We're doing that too.
Of
Yeah.
course, I'm sure.
There's something I wanted to touch on what Inquisitive was saying. You see, New Orleans has this thing called Mardi Gras, which is carnival or whatever.
What's that?
It's a big tradition within New Orleans every single year that we do, and
Yep.
it's where they have big parades and all this sort of stuff and whatever have you.
Beads.
And
It's all about the beads.
Yeah, beads and stuff like that. They have large
to the
amounts of
Disneyland
crowds showing up
Where's
for
Duke?
carnival for this parade stuff. And what happened was this year they said that because the coronavirus outbreak in the States didn't start happening until a little bit after the carnival season ended, they started saying that one of the reasons to why why New Orleans has probably the highest rate in the country outside of Seattle. It's in between Seattle and New Orleans right now. Is because of carnival. It's because of all the people massing for those parades and stuff like that. that came from in the city, and they said that one of the reasons to why it's spreading throughout most of the central part of the country is because people came down here to New Orleans to go to the carnival parades, etc., to party and to drink and all that shit like that. And then they started getting people, they started touching with people that had the coronavirus in the parades and started bringing it back home with them.
Yeah, well, they're going to need to be able to demonstrate that that's what happened.
No, that's what they're saying actually happened.
How do they know?
They're saying that on the news and all that shit.
Oh, well, then it must be.
They have
so how do they know?
They have statistics. They posted statistics about it. Statistics that New Orleans Parish or New Orleans County is the second, is either tied with or is the second or even higher than Seattle's than Seattle or the county. There's some county in fucking New Jersey that's higher than that. They're usually jumping with. Yep.
On a lighter note, I did hear something about talks of using Carnival's cruise line as floating
Carnival's
hospitals.
having a problem too. Yeah.
Just the cruises that people should not be taking right now, using
Yep.
all of their fleet of ships as floating hospitals. I think that's fucking brilliant.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
That's a great idea.
It's those parades that they were going to. The parades that they were going to, they were coming down here to New Orleans to go to the parades, and they were drinking and they were doing this, they were partying and all that shit like that, and getting drunk, and then they would catch the virus from whatever they were doing down here, and then they would go back home, and then shit would hit the fan.
Well, yeah, that's a cesspool for just spreading a disease. Flash a couple titties, and all of a sudden it's God's wrath. I mean, for fuck's sake.
Face is not a thing at Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
It's not a thing that happens at Mardi Gras.
I've been to the Mardi Gras at Disneyland's version, but I suspect it's probably not as big as the real thing.
No, but the mayor had to close down. The mayor had to close down the whole of Bourbon Street just because of the coronavirus. The whole of that area had to be closed. Just to close down now.
They name all the streets after drinks there, don't they?
Well, I think the drinks are named after bourbon after the quarter. Yeah.
We're getting to a chicken or the egg conversation here.
Hey Neil, I put up
the
an
drinks are
evolution
named after
chart.
Bourbon Street.
Neil was about to sing us a song. Go ahead, hit it, Neil.
Somebody said that China now has the highest recovery, and I'm looking that up right now, and it's not looking like that's actually the case. And a lot of these people that are recovering are now have partially reduced lung function as well.
Right.
Oh, this is horrible.
Well, I know in Italy they had yesterday was their record number of deaths, and they exceeded that today. It was almost 800 people died today. And so, this thing is far from over, and at least here in the United States, we're in the infancy of what's yet to come, and we're naive if we think otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And
not everybody.
I'm no expert, but I do read a few experts, and I take what they say at face value, and that's all any of us can do, and then we act appropriately.
And there's more testing.
Reasonable to do these things.
There's more testing to be done too, so the numbers of infections may look like they're going up when really it's just more we're uncovering what's already been going on in to a degree. So it can be a little misleading and scary for people that way.
Yeah.
On a different note, Angie, I noticed during the interview you were posting a lot of "holy crap, I feel those vibes" kind of thing.
Yeah.
About Bruce when he was talking about.
A lot of his story is similar to how I felt about stuff too. So I was like, yes, yes. And the bubble that you talk about, the bubble that you're in, your whole universe is that. And
Yeah.
you don't even give a second thought to the fact there might be somebody who thinks differently.
Well, and you're even taught that, look, the church family supersedes your flesh and blood family. They're going to be the people that stand beside you no matter what.
Yeah.
And
How do you like that, Angie?
Life fibers. What?
Life fibers.
Stand beside you until you fucking start questioning them, and they kick you out on the side of the street and leave you to die.
Right.
Fortunately, I pretty much ghosted the church before I ever really decided I was an atheist. So
Right.
I don't know that those people care one way or the other. Whatever happened to me, I'm not sure that they do.
I think
which
if
is fine. I don't care what happens to them either.
I think if you express any interest in the church or in Christianity, they will likely start taking an interest in your life again.
Yeah, that's
Right.
probably true.
Well, I've often thought that some of the interest that I get from people, which is inexplicable to me, because as I told Neil earlier, I says, look, I was in the Christian church for 50 years. I was a pastor for 25 years. I'm a college trained pastor. You're not going to tell me something likely that I haven't already heard.
Right.
But I really think there are some people that think that, boy, this would be a real big notch on my gun, if I could get Bruce to come back to the faith, And I have another friend who's a ex-pastor, and I said, you know what, we should get a tent, and we should travel the country, and we could be these two atheists that came back to Jesus. And
Yeah,
think
I've had that thought.
of the money we make, because it would be a great story. And we grew up in churches hearing all the great stories about, Satanists who found Jesus, like Mike Warnke, which we found out he was a liar, or guys that were hitmen for the mob who, got saved, and all sorts.
I was in prison ministry. I got all that good stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
You know how many people have tried to call into the atheist experience trying to do that exact same thing to Matt Dillahunty, and end up getting their ass handed to them on a silver platter?
Right.
Those calls are delightful, usually.
Yes.
Not always, usually.
Well, they always think that they have a new angle that, you just haven't heard this before. And that, have you ever thought about, and then just fill in the blank. And yeah, I really have thought about that. I've preached about it. I've read that in the Bible. I know that verse. In fact, I can still quote more Bible verses than I ever wish I could quote, because they're so deeply ingrained in my brain. So no, you're not telling me anything I haven't heard before. And
what's great about the atheist experience is that they'll actually entertain these ideas, and they'll go through the paces of kind of considering them, but they do give them a bit of a brick wall that they have to get over. It's their burden of proof and all that. So it's really good. I like that they're doing it. I sense that probably some of those theists get pretty frustrated with that, because they want to have their whole argument all laid out before anybody can get a word in edgewise.
Yeah.
But I think Matt's right, and the other people there at the atheist experience are right. You as soon as there's one claim being made, you deal with that claim before you deal with the others. And if that one's out, then you don't even need to consider the others. It doesn't matter.
Just want to make a point here. I popped this in here. I want to pick on IQ for a second. Yeah, the nice segue thing. Are we talking about the little roller thingy that people ride around on? Because that's how you spell that one. The other segue is SEGUE, by the way.
Well, fucking
Like in
picking up
music
what I'm laying down here.
I knew what he meant.
Yeah. I had to pick on him. I don't do it nearly enough.
Though I'm pretty
Segues
sure you have one of those on your table too.
Segues are useful.
Look like at a bowling alley or something.
That's
Look
awesome.
at a bowling alley or something.
It's a
If that's the
workout.
dumbest shit I got for you
Gym,
today, I'm in
it's
good
those places
shape.
where people exercise.
That's a bunch of treadmills.
Segway on a treadmill. That defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
I love those
That's
videos
just
where you
Segway
see like
practice.
dogs running on treadmills and stuff. Those are hilarious.
They had the commercial with that kid, like he's supposed to be exercising. He's got the fucking dog on the treadmill with the leash. the dog's fucking doing the treadmill for him. And then at the end of the fucking
How many times can we use that word in one sentence?
Yeah, at the end of the commercial, he's calling his grandma to walk
Spit it out.
across the house to go pick up a drink for him. It's an old ass commercial. It's been
Why
around.
don't they
for
just
decades.
jump on the Segway and go get his drink himself?
Speaking of the
I think
speaking
it's
of
mostly
the
from New Orleans, though.
speaking of the F word, we the other night we watched Adam Sandler's Uncut Gems, I think is the name of the movie. He uses the F word in the movie 408 times.
Oh, jeez.
I kid you not. I mean, we're just
My favorite
sitting there.
words, but
I mean, I'm no prude about using the F word, but I says my word is just. Yeah, but it was a little bit much. It was a little bit much.
Looks like you're fooling them there, Pikachu.
Yeah.
I wonder about
I
these
was
people
gonna
that sit
say,
around
I
counting
was gonna
swear
say
words.
that meme with
There's a game for you
there's
right there.
always that meme with Matt Del Hunte just going on there and then slamming on that end call button because he got really really angry with the person on the other end of the line. You know what I mean?
What's his big thing that they actually have it in the when you watch the Atheist Experience and it comes out at the end and they have the produced by stuff there and the little quotes that people say at the end of it. It says, I can't remember what his is now, and I was just thinking about it earlier too. It said, no, we're done, that kind of thing. Then he
No, you're done.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that, by the way, on my early on in my writing career. I naively believed that, look, if I just explained myself to people, they would understand, and I remember my counselor, I told him that one time, and he said to me, kind of chuckled, and he says, Bruce, the first problem is that you need to understand that evangelicals that come to your blog, they don't give a shit about what you think. They don't. They're there to convert you or evangelize you or whatever. And so over time, I learned not to just endlessly get in those discussions with people. I've written so extensively on these issues that when they come to comment, I say, look, you've got one opportunity, say whatever it is you think God wants you to say. The floor is yours. Speak. And I don't get in endless discussions with them because it's just not fruitful, raises my blood pressure, and we typically end up in the same place as we started. And but if I can get somebody to read a book, if I can get an evangelical to pick up, one of Bart Ehrman's books, for example, and just read about the history and nature of the biblical text, well, then, I've made some inroads there. And because that's how minds are changed through knowledge. And
that's right.
Yep.
At least mine was. Yeah, at least mine.
Well, like they say, what reasonable discussion can you have with somebody that doesn't value reason?
Yes. Yes.
They're in the position that they are, not through reason, but through emotional attacks and cultural attacks.
Reason is the enemy. Thinking for yourself is the enemy. That's the one thing God doesn't want you to do, is think for yourself.
That's right.
Right.
That's the enemy putting lies in your head.
Yeah.
I love that one. That's such a catch-all.
Well, it's kind of like this. Like, if I were to tell my grandma that the fucking Catholic Church in Seattle is like closing all their their fucking public masses and stuff like that, then she would fucking flip out and get angry and mad and all this and that and everything would turn to, this is all Satan and whatever have you, because there's that emotional attachment that you guys are talking about. You know what I'm saying?
I don't
And it
have
would
enough
just
faith to be
it
an
would just
atheist.
yeah.
Yes, right.
That sort of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Or
You
you
don't
deep,
need faith to be an
or you
atheist.
deep down have some secret desire to sin, or
Who
Yep.
hurt
you
you?
always
What
question your
happened to you?
motivations instead of the real reasons that you
Yep.
no longer believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
What happened to you? That's the one that gets me. What happened to you that you stopped? What do you mean nothing happened to me? I just woke up and
Right.
read a different book.
How long did you go to church?
I was in my 40s
Also a long time.
before I quit. So
Yeah.
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 What is Randolph doing?
Chores.
Oh, I thought we were like Randolph on like Holmes on Holmes or something here.
Yeah, we had some people try to do some home invasions this morning and yesterday morning, so I've been making some changes.
Gotcha.
It happened again, Randolph?
Putting up the spy cameras.
Well, this is something else, but that's coming next. So
Lock the door and
Gotcha.
booby trap the joint.
Yeah, booby. Yeah, just chain up like a lion, and as soon as somebody breaks in, the lion gets free and eats them.
Yeah, don't forget the paint cans at the top of the steps. That's always a good
Oh yeah,
I don't want to hurt people. I just want to stop them from getting in.
right. True.
What was the name of the kid from Home Alone 2? Home Alone 1?
Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay
That's
Culkin,
Macaulay
yeah. Do this shit like Macaulay Culkin did.
Oh boy.
You know,
Set up all those traps around the house.
there's a show that they did based on that, and where they kind of looked at it as if something like this would have really happened. Those two guys that broke in the house would be dead
Oh yeah.
nearly instantaneously.
Yeah, that was live action cartoons. All that
Yeah,
was.
pretty much. Yeah.
No, that
When I
was
saw him
with
step on the
Mark
fucking
Mark
nail, I was
Rober,
like,
right? Where he actually brought Macaulay Culkin in on his show.
Who did?
Mark Rober, I believe his name is. He's an ex like NASA engineer, and he's got millions of subscribers, and he does videos on just crazy shit. Like he makes a 6-foot like super soaker, and it's just decked out. He makes a pool full of Jello and just does crazy science experiments. But he actually made a box that's posed as an Amazon like just delivery sitting on somebody's porch. But the thing is that when you open it up, it's got this little thing in there that sprays glitter all over.
yeah, I've seen that.
In
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's Mark Rober, and he actually did a video about the science of Home Alone, and he actually brought Macaulay Culkin in there.
Okay.
He walks into the room, and then Mark does the whole Macaulay Culkin scream thing, and then Macaulay like rolls his fucking eyes. He's like, "All right, I'm out," and he walks out.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's sick of seeing that.
I just think it's so funny. Like, he put the fucking hot iron on the fucking door handle, and the guy
Which would
goes
have
up and
melted it.
touches the door handle. Yeah,
And the door didn't catch on fire.
Right.
Yeah, it catches
amazing.
on fire, and he burns his hand off.
That's called
Red hot
Hollywood
metal,
physics.
but it didn't burn the door. Yeah.
That's called
I always
Hollywood.
tell
Yeah.
people.
That's
You want to
called
keep people. I always tell people if you want to keep people out of your house, beside all your doors, just put all that fucking Lego in the floor.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes.
But then someone's like, yeah, but people don't generally go and rob houses barefoot.
Yeah.
Okay, there's that.
You think stepping on Legos is painful?
Have you seen the Batman mask? The Lego
Try
Batman
stepping
mask?
on a little bits of vaping wire?
Put a blowtorch in the kitchen with a string attached to the door, so when they fucking open it blows your head off.
Okay, Okay,
Yes,
the fact that you
I've,
just laughed maniacally at that.
That was really scary, dude.
Man.
That
I'm
was
just kidding around.
diabolical, Pikachu.
Go ahead, Bruce. Go ahead.
Well, I've cussed one of my grandkids more than once in the middle of the night, going to the bathroom and running into a Lego or a Matchbox car or what are these IPS or whatever, these little toys that they get, and they've left something on the floor, and of course I'm a little bit bladder challenged these days, so I'm running for the bathroom and step right on top of it and not happy.
Yeah, no, that's shit. I've done it multiple times too, to myself.
24/7 grandkid problem.
And I keep bringing up Lego, and it's making me want to dig out my Lego Millennium Falcon now.
Oh my! Yeah, my oldest grandson, he's definitely into Legos.
They're awesome.
Yeah, he's paid more for some Legos than I paid for a few cars that I owned when I was
Right.
They're so expensive now.
Yes. Yes.
Like back in the day when I used to buy like the police station or something, when the minifigs first started, they came out. I remember the original minifigs didn't have arms; they didn't move. They were just little statue guys. And you'd buy the damn police station, it was like $35, and it was expensive in the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. And now they're like, I'm like, 100 and how much for the fucking police station? Like what? It's like what kind of paper delivery routes do these kids have these days? We never made that kind of money.
Well, yeah, and it's I know we bought him a gift card at the online Lego store, and I told his dad, I says, they have stuff that costs $500 and $600 on that website. I said, who pays that? I mean, it's insane. And but
$400. But it's Disney.
They got entire like Star Destroyers and Death Star shit.
Yeah.
Like you can buy for probably like $5,000 almost.
Meccano was awesome, Beach. I used to have tons of that stuff too.
Yeah, like the whole Death Star, like Star Destroyer set for like fucking $5,000 or some shit.
What? No, they're not that much. You can buy the Star Destroyer, but it's like $600. It's also something like, what is it, 13,000 pieces or something?
Yeah. It's outrageously big. I've seen people make
rein it in.
Make some crazy stuff though.
Oh yeah, but Legos
Cabbage Patch dolls.
Yeah.
Cabbage Patch dolls were huge.
Yeah,
that's the first thing I remember ever being. If you don't have one of those, you're just scum. Like if you don't get your kid one of these, you're the worst parent on the planet, and that's the first thing I remember being like that.
Yeah. And they were
the next thing was like Teddy Ruxpin, and then we went from there to like Tickle Me Elmo and
Furbies,
and
that was the first sign of the big pandemic sort of thing. was the fucking Cabbage Patch dolls or stuff. Because
how was that a pandemic?
The Cabbage Patch doll. I mean, the pandemic as far as the how should I say, capitalism and all this sort of stuff and everything going off the shelves and flying off like crazy because people were killing people over the Cabbage Patch dolls.
I know. Hey, kid, I got you one. And a bruise and a black eye and a missing tooth.
Yeah, they're all like fighting people. There's videos of people like on YouTube fighting people over those Cabbage Patch dolls. And then
over hula hoops or little red wagons or bicycles or anything. That's the first thing I remember.
Now
nothing tops Black Friday videos.
Now you look back on it. Now you look back on it, and those Cabbage Patch dolls are like 50 cents, 20 cents.
They were ugly.
Some of the original ones are still worth a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
they were ugly.
In the box.
The real ones, the handmade ones that came out first, were the real Cabbage Patch Kids before they started mass producing them. Were fugly and made out of like old pantyhose and stuff. So I didn't want one. My mom was lucky. I was like, "Don't worry, Mom, I don't want one of those. It doesn't have a chin. I can't." You know.
Yeah, no, I'm not selling my Lego. No. I don't care if they're back ordered.
Yeah, Neil's not selling
It's
shit.
back order now. Everything is back order nowadays because of all the shit that's going on.
Yeah, well, they're locked inside their houses. What else are you gonna do? Play with
Right.
Lego?
All right.
I'm down
Play
for that.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards
Mine's
on
in
fucking
storage.
play Yu-Gi-Oh cards on
I got
Skype.
lots of those here. I'm good with the Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
We can play Yu-Gi-Oh cards on fucking Streamlabs.
You can. I've done it over Skype.
Yeah.
I used to, when I had my other channel, my Saris 13 channel, which was all about gaming and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. I used to interview other duelists, like the well-known YouTuber duelists, and I would challenge them to a duel while I interviewed them. Funny enough, I generally used to win the duels because they were distracted by my interview. So, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Randolph! You know they're making tool jokes at you over here.
Oh yeah, it's Mike Holmes.
Better read them out then.
Yeah.
Here's one. I like the new talk show and home repair format, Neil. Maybe someone can cook. Well, next time I get Diana, the Lavender Lady, on here, maybe she can do the cooking while we're doing this.
It won't be me doing any cooking. You know, I was
Watching
just
Randolph do what he does best, manipulate his tool.
That's doorknob head for you.
Oh, yeah, it's doorknob head. Yeah.
Ceiling fans the other day in my kids' rooms. I should have put that on while I'm chatting with people. That would have been good.
Just to let you guys know, we're climbing up on the hour, and I do have to take off. So,
Okay.
we'll go for a little bit longer. And Bruce, you're a trooper, man. You made it through the whole after party, pretty much.
Well, that's okay. My pizza's waiting, but I'm holding out just for you.
Well, I very much appreciate it because I know how hard that must be to sit there while you can smell pizza in the air. I'd be losing my shit right about now.
Yeah, I told Polly and we have a daughter, a Down syndrome, 30-year-old daughter, and I said, "You guys go ahead and eat." I said, "I'll
Pizza,
eat.
buddy. You sure there's going to be some left?
Yeah, there'll be some left."
This nougat is cold. It'll be all right.
Exactly. So, does anyone have any other questions they would like to ask Bruce before we bring this to a close?
I had one earlier, but it left me, and now I can't find it again.
Bruce, it's nice to meet you. I don't. You're not familiar to me, so it's been nice chatting with you today.
Yes, you too. And I have some projects for you if you ever get down to Ohio.
Oh, what kind of projects?
All
this
kinds these days.
Randolph, do you do decks?
Actually, we're
Deck
rebuilding our deck right now.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. Actually, Randolph lives quite close to me, so we see each other quite often.
Neil's been here a few times.
Yeah.
I
We
want
donate
you
blood
down
together
here in
too, the
south.
two of us.
But I know he hasn't been here the last 2 mornings.
Nope. No, it wasn't me that was breaking into your house.
Neil's going in there to steal. Neil's going in there to take us some beer.
No, I was going in there to get all those cool tools he's using.
Oh, you think I've got beer here?
Randolph doesn't drink Pikachu, so he doesn't
I'm
have
just
beer.
kidding.
Besides,
This there.
I got my little cooler here, which has this awesome sticker on it that says "No gods, no masters," and of course my blood donor
That's
stickers
cool.
as well.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the Dole banana sticker. I don't know.
If people gave me beer, I'd just pass it on to Neil.
Yay! That's why he's my friend.
Yeah, I'm not a beer drinker either. Wine,
like
I'll
beer.
drink a little bit of liquor from time to time, but I've just never been able to handle beer.
That's the extent of Neil breaking into Randolph's house to get beer. Is knocking on the door and then getting the beer.
You have to be pretty drunk to think you can find beer here.
Donna wants to know why my logo sticker isn't on my
Just joking with you guys.
I don't know. I just haven't put one on there. I still have one of the original ones right here, but I kind of promised this one to Not Your Witness. But I do have all the new ones that I made, which I kind of like now because they're the square ones that I had done with the logo. This one in the center, but around it's got the black border, and I think it makes the logo itself pop out a little more. So kind of cool. which I was hoping to give away at Faithless Forum. But
one thing about the interview tonight and the after party, I will point people. I'll get people who say to me, "Well, you must really be a very unhappy person." And
really?
I know,
oh
right?
yeah, I get it all the time, and it's such a no. I'm quite happy. I can even laugh. I can even have fun, And so no, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fit your narrative of my life,
Right.
So I'll just point them to this discussion. See, I can have fun. I can laugh. I can talk about home improvements, the coronavirus. And
Oh, I know what I was going to ask him a while ago. What are some of the things that you feel like you have that are leftovers? Because like I still get a little skeeved out by people talking about certain things, and I know it's just leftover from the way I used to think about stuff. Do you have any of that?
Not much anymore. I certainly, when I first deconverted, I had all sorts of them. The waking up in the middle of the night and still wondering if you were going to burn in hell because you were, you had walked away from Jesus and all of that. But I think with time, those things have kind of, yes, by the way, those things have kind of gone away. Every once in a while, I'll have what I call a stray thought that'll go through my mind, and I says, "Boy, you're thinking like a fundamentalist there, aren't you?" And I realize that's just kind of a vestige from my past life, and that stuff's deeply ingrained in your thinking. It's hard to totally exercise yourself of all of that.
Right. You got to find yourself tucking yourself out of stuff all the time.
Right.
Like, no, you don't think that way anymore. Why did that even,
Yes. And I tell people, look, because I'll get questions about that, and I say, in time it gets better, and the farther away you get from religion and from evangelicalism in particular, the better things look. And you just have to give it time. And I know that's at least that's been the case for me. So,
definitely.
True. Yeah,
The
it's
fear
all
of hell
about
is
fear.
the fear of hell. I hear very often is one of the hardest things to lose because it's drilled into you so much.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
What
And
if
the
I'm
fear of
wrong?
being alone.
yep.
Yeah.
What I find is really hard is that you're living in a Christian society, and that because you're living in a Christian society, everybody around you believes that hell is real, and they're trying to propagate that hell is real, and they're trying to attack your mental state, and they're trying to make it to where you're forced into those emotions again to put you back into that state where you are forced into believing this again. And it's very, very difficult because you have to fight it, and you have to constantly you have to constantly try to fight against this sort of thing because it's ingrained in your history, and it's very, very difficult to do, especially when you're coming out of a traumatic religion, especially like fundamentalist evangelical Christianity, where there's a lot of that trauma related to a lot of this stuff. And it's very, very hard to deal with the history and the memories that could be triggering about all this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
especially when everybody else is trying to say, oh, hell is real, this and this is real, blah, 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 whole fucking 9 yards. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you have to find a way to tune that shit out.
Well, and you replace it. I mean, the thinking works with anything. And you just you replace it with different things. You've got to change what you're feeding your mind on. And I've had people. I had a friend who died last year, and he's an atheist, but he was a fundamentalist for a lot of years, and he'd have all these thoughts about whether he was wrong or not, and because he spent a lot of time reading fundamentalist sites and all that. And I says, you just need to get away from that stuff, because it's really feeding into your fear about the future and whatnot, and you just got to kind of change your perspective.
He's voluntarily seeking the echo chambers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's even worse. It's even worse during this time with the coronavirus going on and with all this paranoia happening, because everybody's turning towards religion.
Well,
not
everybody.
Not
A lot of people are turning towards religion.
No. People who are predisposed to turning to religion.
People are.
This is just an excuse for them to actually
How do
go.
they know this ain't a plague from God because they voted for Trump? I warned you not to let this douchebag in.
A lot of those fundamentalist religious people are usually, when you have events like this happen, they become much, much more ingrained in those beliefs with Christianity. And we've seen this with Hurricane Katrina. We've seen this with a lot of the big natural disasters. Every single time something like this happens, they become even more fundamentalist as these sort of events take place.
Yeah. Well, and that's the nature of fundamentalism in general. It's always going to be driven by fear and paranoia. And I don't know that you'll ever fix that. The good news is that this will pass, and their new TV shows will come on, and they'll not be quite as fearful and paranoid.
Well, I think there's one thing to learn. Like, if you look at Hurricane Katrina, was that the thing is with studying from Hurricane Katrina was that in the weeks after Hurricane Katrina, you look at this, like, people were paranoid, people were this right after Hurricane Katrina, but then, like, 2 weeks later, even the people that evacuated started not worrying about Christianity, or not worrying about church so much. And it started to just lapse off, and things started to kind of cool off and ease off, and they started not, you can see the idea that they weren't nearly as worried as they were during the first week of it is kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
In a way, that's what I'm that's kind of the assessment, you know what I'm saying? But in the ideas that's what we're kind of hoping what will happen with the coronavirus is that eventually, now with this first wave or this first hit, that eventually 3 or 4 weeks later, it's going to start, when people are like, oh, you know what, we've handled with it, we've seen this, blah, 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 blah. We're used to it now, it's no big deal. They can just relax off, and they won't worry about religion nearly as much as they worried about it during week 1 or week 2 or week 3. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it would become a whole lot easier to go back to normal,
I'm like Neil. I'm fixing to get out of here, but I wanted to say it was awesome to meet you, Bruce, and I hope to see you around here more and more.
All right. Thank you, Angie. It's been fun.
Nice to meet you. Bye, Neil. Bye, Ray.
Bye, Angie. Thanks for dropping in.
Bye, Angie.
All right. We'll bring this to a close. Once again, Bruce, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it. And it was really great to chat with you.
Yep. Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
We'll see you, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks.
Peace out.
All right, and like I forgot to mention earlier too when he was talking about how people are still holding church services and allowing everyone to go to church, sit in there with everyone. It gives a whole new meaning to empty the pews.
Yeah.
Because eventually it just might do that.
That goes against the church's business plan, which I like to summarize as more bums on seats.
Yep.
Well, I think I think once all this starts settling down, like 3 or 4 weeks later, and people start, becoming less in tune with the religion a little bit, and they start becoming more eased off, then we may start seeing less people showing up to church again.
Empty.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. All right.
Because that's what we think was the effect when Hurricane Katrina happened.
Okay.
So.
I don't really remember much from that other than the news itself, but
yeah,
I wasn't in the thick of it. So, I'm up here in Canada where we don't get fucking hurricanes, tidal waves and shit like that. We have a nice island here that breaks all that.
Yeah, y'all don't get anything. Y'all don't get any of that stuff. So.
Oh, no, dude. We get earthquakes.
Y'all get earthquakes, but y'all don't get hurricanes.
They're not big ones. Well, bye, Randolph. But yeah, I remember, it's funny, before I shut this off, I'll tell you a quick little story. Hi, Susan. We're sitting at my buddy Mikey's place downstairs, which is bottom floor. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we felt something roll through the ground. Like just, woo. And I said, oh, look at that. There we go. Little earthquake. And my buddy's girlfriend was just losing it because she's from Ontario. Well, they both are. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so scared. This whole place is going to crash. I'm like, no. We get this shit all the time. What the fucking? Oh, now you show up, motherfucker?
Man, you had a packed house all night.
I know. I know, but yeah. I sent you the link, and I wasn't sure because Angie said she was going to be in later, but I didn't think that later was going to be that quick. So. Yeah.
I don't have notifications on my Twitter, so it took me a minute to get to it.
A minute? It's been an hour.
Well,
next time I will. I'll actually, if you're in the chat and I see you and I send you the link, I'll let you know that I've actually sent it to you.
I'll probably turn Twitter messages on since I got 30 days to do fuck all.
Oh, are you on lockdown?
We're going on Tuesday at midnight.
Yeah. So. Wow. Yeah, it's good though. We're not going to spread this shit around, but
I'm trying to convince my mom not to go to work now.
I know I'm having issues with my mom too.
Yeah,
she's going out for a walk with her friend tonight, but they're going to keep the social distance and they're going to a place where there's not a lot of people. So I'm okay. That's fine. My mom needs exercise too, right? But yeah, she's really susceptible to this at her age and her diabetes. So yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, sorry, we're cutting it off right now, Flow State, but
it's okay. I know how long your goodbyes could be, so I figured I'd drop in even though I know you're getting off.
Damn ex-Jews and their long goodbyes. Anyway.
Do we do cheek kisses? That's Italians.
Oh, no, Italians. It's Middle Eastern, really. It's like Mediterranean, Middle Eastern type thing. Yeah,
I have a friend from high school who is half Jewish and half Italian, and I couldn't remember where that shit came from, but I guess it's both.
Well, I have Italian in me as well, and I was raised Jewish. So. You go to the parent, and they don't actually connect. It's just like a hovering kiss.
Right.
They don't actually.
It's adjacent, which is tolerable. Yeah. It's tolerable.
Yeah, exactly. Which is hysterical in my mind. Of course, we used to get all the cheek pinches from the aunts and shit too, right? So.
Oh, I never had that shit.
Oh God, fuck! I go home with red cheeks sometimes. It was just brutal. But I go home and be like, Mom, can I have some aspirin? My cheeks hurt. And I was going to say Aunt Flo, but no. And that's a whole other thing. All right. We're not getting into that.
Last minute. I pulled this out again.
Okay, Rory's not here. You can put it away.
That's why I came in, actually, to see that.
All right, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed the after party, the conversation we had. A lot of it, of course, we were chatting about the coronavirus and stuff. But just reminds me to tell you guys to be safe and keep your hands clean. Don't touch your face. and
No licking doorknobs.
yeah, no licking or toilet seats for that matter, because that's a thing.
You hear me, Pikachu?
I already broke one of the rules.
You got to knock it off.
The doorknob's in the chat now, and it's like, oh, why? I'd let Pikachu lick me.
And car handles either.
Well, my dog ends up trying to lick me all the fucking time, so I have to watch that shit.
Well, I think your dog's going to be immune to the coronavirus, so you're all right.
But you're going to have to eat him after about 2 weeks. I heard you can.
I got two of those. I got two of those big ass Dobermans. So
well, you're set for a while. I heard if you cut them up small enough, you can cook them in a coffee pot.
Don't lick me, no matter how much I ask for it.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Let's bring this to a close. I got shit to do.
No, you don't.
I do. I've been sitting on a pile of laundry that's just screaming at me, so I got to get that shit done. Anyway, all right. Till next time, guys. Like I always say at the end of these things, like the late great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.